You're watching Coach Talk. I'm here again with another new guest, and all the way from the States, Michigan. I have to welcome Wissam Bazzi. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's an honor.
It's been such a pleasure to have you on board and support the channel. I'm really, really honored. I know how busy you are and how much time it took for you to arrange this meeting between you and me. I'm really looking forward to the discussion. I know you're a life coach and a speaker, and you've had TEDx talks, and you're a businessman, entrepreneur. You've had many experiences behind you, but I'm going to leave you to describe exactly who you are to the audience, and hopefully we will take the conversation from there.
Well, number one, again, for me, I'm all about the other person and trying to see how I can pass off a thought, which is a lens for someone to look through, and it just makes them see a different reality. So I think when you could do that for someone, there's just internal gratification that's superb. So on that level, that's really why we do what we do in terms of coaching. But coaching at the end of the day is being able to assess goals and actually results, give feedback, then make tweaks on that feedback. And it's reprogramming and rewiring someone's mind on a subconscious level. And when that happens, they change their behavior, which changes their results. And I think that's what we really do. So it's human engineering at the end of the day. So for me, I'm honored to be able to do that for someone at any level. It could be, I have clients who are 10 years old, and I have clients who are way up above that. And I have someone who's just starting off to all the way to CEOs of major companies. So it doesn't matter who you are. I think coaching is the most powerful thing that you could do. And it's about the human connection and understanding another human being, which has their own frequency. And you have to be that good to be able to tap into that personal frequency, which is very unique, and it's one code for one person. It's somebody's Wi-Fi, and you have to be able to tap into that. So I think that's what we do overall. Me personally, I'm grateful to have a neuropsychology background. I'm still in school. I'm always be in school. I think life is a school itself. So that's one aspect of me. I do love theology. I do love philosophy. I do love science as a whole. So I have a big background in that. And I also have a huge marketing background and branding background. So that's kind of me in terms of what I do. I'm just normal like everyone else, trying to find my way through this vast forest. But if I can help someone along the way, I'm here to do it.
Well, to be honest, it's really refreshing to hear you speak about how much, learning is part of life. And this is what I always try to advocate myself. I think I only appreciated it more being as an adult, and, you make a choice to actually learn, and especially when you can sort of like have an impact on other people. So I invited you today because, watching your talks and listening to you generally is quite inspiring. And I just wanted my audience to have the same sort of like, hearing from what you say. I mean, we are definitely in some really challenging times right now. And I find that generally when I have clients coming to me, I feel that obviously with giving them support, you don't want to rush them and push them into certain areas. I know a lot of people are talking about coaches saying, well, you should be productive, you should be this, you should be that, and positive. And that's all well and good, but I want to be more empathetic to where we stand right now. But at the same time, when a few of them are ready to get out of a certain way of being which is not serving them, then what are the small tips and sort of like ways to move forward during these hard times? I mean, I know we are all individuals in our own journey, experiencing things differently, but I want to touch it from that extreme point, so that hopefully, we're not actually pushing forward for people to not be comfortable coming to a coach, and feeling more supportive and also taking their time. So I know you speak a lot about this, but, if you were to start off, giving some sort of tips and strategies for somebody who is feeling in that, downward spiral, and, fear of the unknown, and also trying to sort of get out of that way where they can slowly take some steps, where would you start from?
I think that's a great question. I would first of all tell you anybody who's watching is you really have to understand life at a greater whole. It goes into a little bit of philosophy, but it's all about understanding what a challenge is. Then from there, kind of with your own personal state and how you should feel emotionally, which is an emotional code, and how you should think mentally, which is a mental code. And I think when you understand that, the first step, what is a challenge? And the challenge is going to step to your door, which is an external force. Then knowing how to deal with that challenge, which is internal. And those two forces are going to come and collide. And it's going to depend on your identity and belief structure that's going to overcome, or the challenge is going to beat you. It's one or the other. You're in a boxing ring and you're in there for your life. That's how you should be thinking of life as a whole, because you're created to solve problems. That from the first second you are born, your first problem is what? To breathe. Second is to get some milk. Third is probably just to look at your mom and just say, hey, I have a caretaker, and it's to make that connection with another human being. So responsibility and problems just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So life is about that. That's the way it works. So if you understand that, you have to understand this, that why do I have challenges? Challenges are there in terms of friction. They're the resistance to your own personality. It's the weight on the bench. Without the weight, you can't get bigger. You can't build muscle. You can't do that. So you build mental muscle. Life forces you to build mental muscle and to take your mind to a whole nother level. That's what challenges are there for. Now, let me give you an example there, then I'll go to the second part. When you look at a child and you see them trying to walk, it's a challenge. The challenge is walking. Now, they get up, they fall. They get up, they fall. But have you ever seen a child stop, go to a corner, and never try again? It doesn't happen, because that's built-in mechanisms that we have to take on challenges and to rise over them. We're resilient in that way. We're created that way. So now if that's the case, when a challenge comes to your door, it's beautifully made and it's set up for you, because there are certain things that you need to take yourself to the next level. So what a challenge is embedded with is rejection. So you got to learn how to fall in love with rejection. And rejection is life telling you no. It's that resistance. So a challenge can't exist without rejection. It can't. But you're being formulated and you're being set up to take on at a very young age these challenges. Now, why is that important? Because it gives you will, it gives you strength, and it builds you in that way. But there's another thing that a challenge does. A challenge sets you up to gain the tools from it and to graduate through it. And what that means is, what happens to the child or the baby when they get their wheels and they beat the challenge of trying to walk? They gain a tool of walking through the challenge. So they graduate through the challenge. So challenges also give you tools to take on the next what? Level. That's what challenges are there for. So they're your friend. A challenge is an opportunity. So find the hardest ones and trust me. That's what you want. That's what you want out of life.
Yeah.
That is beautifully set up in terms of a general system. Now I can go to the second part, and if you want to comment, go ahead.
Yeah, I do want to comment. You've raised a lot of things, and I've heard this many times. I myself do agree with you, but I had to come to a stage personally as well where you have sort of like self-development and learning in order to get to that stage. And even as, giving examples of children, I've heard many people say that, especially coaches and, anyone with some sort of theory background on self-development, knowing that we grow and we develop from challenge. However, you understanding also the human being and the human nature, even if we are children, we might be probably having the less filters, but as we get older, we actually do create a lot of the filters. We have more understanding, and sometimes it creates, less resilience. And we also humans that actually resist change, and we want the comfort. And I get also that a lot of people, they only learn this once they actually, you know, faced with a challenge. With me now, I've come to the stage, like you were mentioning, that I embrace it, I welcome it, because I know that's like my next step to the next level. However, majority of people, unfortunately, are not built and thinking in this way and not wanting it. And that's why with something like this that strikes, it is quite daunting. And but besides even that, it is normal for us humans to have that kind of level of worry and concern and be okay with it too, for a certain extent and time. So my concern is, I don't want people to feel that, you know, this is a challenge, and every challenge we got to still be like, you know, always like Rocky Balboa or something. You know, we're not all built that way, unfortunately. But I'm trying to raise awareness where we need to. And obviously this is a call out for everybody to stop and pause and think in that way as to what life's about, and give their own meaning and sort of purpose, regardless of what their background of faith, religion, spirituality, or even none of that exists. So it does raise a lot of questions. And I think these days, when we are, you know, in the last, you know, couple of decades, when we are, especially in the developed world, where we have so much things around us that's given us that freedom of not worrying about challenges because we get things so quickly. We're living in a sort of consumerism, materialistic world. You know, millennials have an entitlement sort of way of thinking and believing. So there's lots of questions from what you just said. And I agree with you 100%, but I want to tackle it from a viewpoint of people out there that have absolutely no knowledge of something like this and have absolutely no way of even experiencing a challenge. Because even sometimes parents sugarcoat, mollycoddle, sort of like, but, you know, sort of cover their kids in bubble wrap, to be honest, so that, you know, they're not even building those skills or even allowing those skills to organically grow.
Excellent point. I think, and that's the second part of the presentation that I was kind of giving you, because I was kind of giving you a mini presentation. But the second part is learning how you work, which is the internal factor when a challenge approaches you. So now you have to take it to another level and understand that if you were created to solve problems, problems are like the waves of an ocean. They're always coming. But some waves are small and some waves are huge. And what we're talking about is becoming the surfer, that while everyone is running away from the ocean when it's at its highest form of just disaster and destruction, and that's the way we view it, there's someone who enjoys that. And he has, or she has, no fear of the chaos of the ocean. No, it's actually harmonious. It's like a dance that I have to interact with that challenge. And when I do that and I lock in properly, it's amazing what happens to my own system. And I even naturally start producing different hormonal streams, and neurotransmitters are released in my brain, that I become a different human being. That while everyone's running away from the fire, I actually go towards the fire, but with calmness and security and confidence. That's a different human being. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about human engineering. Human engineering is you becoming your best version of yourself, but at the end of the day, it's literally becoming a different species altogether. And I think when you understand that, and you look at yourself as a person and say, what do I want to build in terms of a human being down the line that's me? Because today's person is going to die. Yesterday's person died. Whatever I did yesterday, I actually pushed forward decisions that I'm making, but I'm going to see the consequences today, tomorrow, or the month, or the year after. That's just the way it works. So I have to make decisions that build my personality and my character, that's constantly moving me to another level. And I make decisions I don't have to clean up later. I make decisions that lay down more track down the line so I can go faster. So some of us, what we do is we make decisions in the moment that lay down the next brick on the wall that we're going to hit. That's some of us, and that's what we do. We don't think things through, where we emotionally react. That decision is very costly. You just don't see it yet, because it's coming. That challenge is going to come hit you, whether you like it or not. And some of us, what we do is we set up ourselves in such a way that every single decision that we make is a combination that brings out this amazing consequence, that when we get there, we're so gratified in terms of our decisions and what we set up. But it's a series of decisions that is a collective that brings about an amazing result. So when you start off in the first year of university, think of the second you're actually someone's handing you your degree. That combination of decisions that you've made got you to that final point, which is that final consequence. That's good decision making. Now, how do you do that? The ultimate factor facing any kind of trial, tribulation, anything that happens, you have two things. You have hope and you have fear. When the challenge comes, it's going to present you with those two things. It's going to knock on your door and it's going to tell you, I'm ready. Are you? Some of us are going to be more than ready. Some of us are going to be what? Wait, I have to get my this and I have to get that. So you're not ready because you haven't made good decisions. You haven't set up and enabled the next steps of your life. That's wisdom. I'm talking about wisdom because application is wisdom. But at the end of the day, here's what happens when the challenge comes. When it comes, it's going to call you outside. And it's going to call your identity outside. And it's going to tell you, guess what? We're going to go at it. The one who succeeds overcomes and moves forward. The one who doesn't has some hard times that they may be going through. Now, right now, a lot of us are going through some hard times. A lot of us, we're watching maybe our loved ones die. We're watching people that we care about, maybe be hospitalized and they're not comfortable. Tragedy is very difficult to look at. But how do you get to a point where your own vision changes about that? Where tragedy becomes peaceful. Tragedy becomes harmonious to you as a person. How do I view life in that way? That anything that in terms of a challenge is presented to me, I look at it as the most beautiful thing. That's a lot of identity factors that has to come into your being, be programmed, and then applied through wisdom in life. It's amazing. So not to take that any further, I would tell you just this. There's 3 principles that I always follow as a person, and any one of my clients, I always tell them to follow this. Then I'm going to give you another part, and I'll let you kind of elaborate on what you want to elaborate, but I'll give you another part to this whole thing, which is now the application of some of the principles you need to apply and what you need to do and how you need to think about it. What's the software? What's the mental software you need to download to take on a challenge? But ultimately, I'll tell you these 3 things. Number 1, have sincerity in your heart. Number 2, have the truth on your tongue and apply and present the truth through wisdom. If you can get that combination and those 3 things downloaded into your personality, and you're not afraid to say the truth for you or against you, then you're a different being. No challenge can take you on if you have those 3 weapons embedded inside your system, because you become something different. Your emotions are different. Your thinking is different. Everything about you is different. What you see is different. That's another whole stage, but what I'll do is I'll show you how to get those 3 things in terms of how to set that up into your own system.
These are all amazing insights with regards to an individual who may also be, because I know even generally people come to coaches because they're entrepreneurs, they're top performers, and they actually drive and strive through life. What about people that are not driven, not motivated, or even really, if they really have probably gone in such a spiral which is negative because they probably spent their entire lives, for example, let's take some real scenarios, building a business their entire life and working on that one sort goal, and now it's inevitable that it has to be closed or never ever being put forward again. Let's bring a real case study here. Will these theories kind of help them move forward? You talk about even wisdom. Can somebody feeling in that negative state still find truth, wisdom, and being honest about themselves? And even if it's through tragedy of losing somebody, not everybody has that way of thinking where there is light at the end of the tunnel, or there is a different life after death. So what would be your thoughts on that?
Well, at the end of the day, I think regardless of who you are, in terms of your last statement, uh, I'm going to go to a universal concept just to kind of umbrella everything, which is we all love to do good. As a human being, we all have this capacity, even the worst of us, in terms of as a human being, there's still the side of them that loves to do good. So that's embedded in all of us. So from there, if you take that concept and then you build on that, I think it's an amazing thing what happens when you are challenged and you are broken. There's something amazing that happens there. And if you study yourself at those moments, those are the moments that will really display to the world who you really are. The pain is an amazing tool. And how you utilize it, you become amazing. So on that level, when you inject that into your system, you mix up your own cocktail and you tell the world, I'm coming. And I don't care what you hand me. It doesn't matter. I'm me. You are you, but I'm going to beat you regardless. I think if you have that mentality, that's strength overall.
But do you think somebody who is like in the middle of midst of depression, anxiety, and extreme stress is going?
I'm going to show you how to, if you are like that. Let's say you are, because that was that second side I was going to go to, which is that's amazing to have that, where you can transform pain into pleasure. That's not easy. Okay, that's a person who's really worked on themselves. Okay, now let's say you take pain and you inject it inward. You don't reflect it outward. You don't know how to do that. So you take in the pain and you make it poison. So pain to pleasure or pain to poison.
I like to say pain to power, actually.
Beautiful. It's however you want to look at it. It's there, but it's amazing in terms of if it's just using it. How are you going to use it? Because it's energy. At the end of the day, it's energy. It's negative energy, but it's still energy. So now let's look at the person who does inject it inward. Okay, and I'll take you through a series of steps mentally that they can bring themselves out of that. So when I'm looking at the challenge that's broken me, and I'm taking the pain and I'm injecting it into myself and I'm making it poison within my system, what that poison really is emotional deregulation, where I can't make decisions anymore. I can't think. I'm not motivated. That's what it turns into. That's what the poison turns into, because it's a virus inside your system. Just like the coronavirus, there's a mental virus also in your system. It's the same concept. So now, how do you take that and push it out of your system? Here's what happens. The basis of that poison, the main ingredient is fear. Bottom line. Fear is generated by loss. If you understand how that works, then you can start seeing how that is infecting you in that way. So what do I do to get rid of the fear? So you talked about that in terms of that will bring about depression, that will bring about anxiety, that will put you on anti-meds in terms of antidepressant meds, and that will bring you to another mental storm of negativity. That's what happens to you. So now, what do you do to remove the fear? Number one, this is the process now, drop the outcome. Most of us don't understand that concept. When we are reflecting in our mind, are we negatively reflecting or positively reflecting? Positive reflection is having strong mental ability to turn something negative into a positive. Positive reflection, that's what it causes, positivity. It makes you move forward, become resilient. Negative reflection is going towards a mental storm in your brain of just negativity. And I go further and further in terms of my own being and who I am. Even my own perspective of myself gets lower and lower and lower in terms of my ability, which then I lose confidence, self-esteem, self-efficacy. Everything goes down the drain. Now, when you drop the outcome, you're injecting yourself, your own being, with hope. That's what you're doing, because you have hope and you have fear. So when you see someone, you're like, what's wrong? And they're down. It's like the person will inject hope. It's going to be okay. You'll tell the person who's feeling down, it's going to be okay. You're injecting hope because there's a fear that they have. So that's how the system, that's how it works, just on those basic two components. So when you do that and you drop the outcome, you drop the fear. Because now I'm letting go of the magic word in your mind is what if? What if this? What if that? What if, oh my God, it's just, I drop that outcome, I drop the fear, and I drop the anxiety, and I stop the mental storm. Those are key points. Now, when you do that, and if you can successfully do that and train your mind to be that aware and that keen in terms of your own being, where you can regulate your own emotional state, this is emotional regulation at a completely different level. So you're balancing yourself with hope and fear. They're both great things when they're utilized properly. But when you have one that's too much or one that's too little, it's a problem. So if I have too much hope, I'll become rash. I don't think. If I have too much fear, okay, I won't move. I'll be crippled. But if I have just enough, where I have just enough hope for ambition, strength, movement, and I'm moving forward, and just enough fear to be precautious, where I, cross my T's and dot my I's, and I do everything necessary in my pre-planning to make sure I have a good outcome. That's positive fear. That's positive hope. Get that combination right, and it's amazing what happens to your system. Now, after that, if you emotionally regulate and you get yourself to that level, the next thing is you shifted your emotional code and you've balanced now. You're harmonious. The equilibrium of your emotional regulation is there. So now when you do that, you have actually more security in your heart. That security, instead of fear, you just flipped your emotional code and your emotional structure. And if you can get to that peace and that calmness, that creates more confidence. Now, if that happens, when you drop the outcome, your heart becomes sincere because you're not worried about consequences anymore. I don't care what happens. It doesn't matter. You do what you want. It doesn't matter to me. I know who I am. And I know where the truth is. So then I become sincere. That security turns into sincerity. And when you can do that, that's sincerity in the heart. You have to do that first. So you have to work on your emotional code and your emotional structure first. Balance yourself emotionally regulate. And I just gave you a system there. Now, what happens when you do that and sincerity is in your heart? It automatically affects your tongue because now you become truthful because you don't care, again, about consequences. It doesn't matter. I don't care what the consequences are. As long as I'm sincere and I'm saying the truth with the best of my ability, which is my wisdom being presented now unto the world, now you become something really, really special as a human being. Why? Because when you speak to another person, you have to create a connection. And I'm going to give you a code to connecting to another human being, which is what we are starving right now. The world is starving for this because we've become so mentally individualized that we don't have general rules to know what a human being really is when we actually put out our messages. When we put our Wi-Fi, no one has the password. No one can connect to us. I'm going to give you the perfect formula based on that and how to connect to another human being. When you have sincerity in your heart and the truth on your tongue, and you have the courage to present the truth through wisdom, when you speak to another person, your words now are connected with two things, and they're encompassed by two things. Your truth is your logic and your wisdom, and your sincerity is what? It's your emotional code. So you have two things. You have a mental code and an emotional code embedded in your words. When you can do that right, and it's the truth, and it's sincere, your words, when they engage the other person's mind, your truth, which is your logic, will engage their mind, which opens up the gate to their heart, which is your sincerity. You hit that second level right, that's the human connection. That's what we all seek, by the way. We all seek to connect, but we need to be understood. That's the key. So if you are like that, you will change. You will change. My cat's coming through. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. I saw him or her in the background. And I was wondering. That's fine.
So on that level, even connecting to an animal, having that sincerity, that sympathy, that empathy, if that resides within your being and then you speak, you vibrate not just the other person's mind, not just their heart, you vibrate the world, because now you become a beacon of light towards everything. Not the energy that you exude towards anyone, anything, anywhere you walk, talk, even when you sleep, there's an energy to you. When you become that vibe, you become literally something impeccable as a human. So that's
Yeah.
what I would tell you in terms of that general consequence of that.
No, I mean, everything you've said, I totally agree with. And I've done a lot of studies in self development myself. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I just want to have people like yourself sort of like interpret it in your own words, similar to what I'm doing, really. But it's good to hear more and more people talk about this. And for me, it just brings about more sort of awareness as to how much we've got to have. Awareness about ourselves and to build ourselves and to know ourselves. And we don't normally take that time to do because we just have a blueprint of, growing up, studying, getting married, getting the job. And it's just a cycle without real reflection, without even having that real sense of our own identity, which is not just inherited, but something that we choose and we're comfortable with. That's why we can actually make decisions in a particular way, whether it's, our future career or spouse or any decision. It comes from what you are inside, and most people don't understand that, and they don't even get to that level like you just explained unless they're hit with a challenge, and then all these things in the baggage from the past behind or what's inside of them isn't clear. And that's what I want to really highlight. People don't really understand this until they get to it, but again, when they even come to that challenge, they're not actually seeking the right sort of advice or going to the right people for it. And I think that's where coaches really do come into play, the ones that are trained properly and can be with an individual and sit with them where they are and take them through that sort of transformational process and journey. And it is a journey. It is an experience over time to get to those levels. And it can be quite painful. And it can be sometimes where you relapse, but it's not a problem because as we know that this is how change happens. And obviously, you can obviously highlight that. I'm obviously going to be questioning you like how some individuals question me and playing devil's advocate, but everything you say, I champion and I do myself. But the reason why I do these shows, because I want everyday people who may not be on that journey just yet to sort of, hear me speak on their behalf and have individuals like yourself to reassure them that there is a way and there is a road if they choose to take that direction. Also, when it comes to decision making, at a particular point in time, that again is another process, which I think you can, elaborate more on.
And my cat is just not letting me go. But
You should join in the conversation and get all this wisdom and have that confidence and, build.
So I really love your question. I think this is really the core of it, because a lot of it, again, you're talking outside and inside, and you have to understand that the outside, which is the outside world, is the testing ground for the inside. A lot of us don't understand that the work has to happen on the inside first, not the outside. So you have to take an internal journey. So what I do in terms of an overall program that I usually set up with my clients is I have them look at their overall responsibilities, and I lay it out in 6 categories, and then we develop a plan and strategy and they start going for it. And it's amazing when you get like a 16, 17-year-old kid saved like $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 in like 5, 6, 7 months. And they're like just shocked. Like, how did I just do that? And when they go through that process, they earn something, which is literally their own self-efficacy, which is they start judging their own ability. I judge who I am, but I judge myself in a favorable fashion. And when I do that, that's the first level. The second level is it builds my confidence, because self-efficacy leads to self-confidence. And self-confidence is when I judge the future, can I get to my goal? That's really what self-confidence is. So now they start predicting bigger and better and higher goals for themselves. And finally, that increases self-esteem, which I start liking myself more. Because if the more results I gain that are positive, the more it builds my self-efficacy and my self-confidence, which eventually builds my self-esteem. So really it's about your own tool set on the inside. So it's building those tools within your ability to get something more. Now, if that's the case, and that's what we're talking about, here's what I would tell you on a grandeur level, okay? On a macro level, that was just micro. Now, on a macro level, as a human being, this is your job. It's to take your conscious mind, which has a flashlight, shine it, not to the outside world, which is full of darkness and you don't know sometimes which direction to go. You need to shine it first on the inside to your subconscious wiring, where you find your inclinations, your talents, what you're genetically encoded for. But you also find some things in there that you're not going to like. Here is where you have to be truly confident to tell yourself, I'm not good here. You have to become brutally honest with yourself. Because when you shine that flashlight, some of us, what we do is we look at the problem, we study it. It's okay. Not me. That's not me. We justify, we rationalize, and we lie to ourselves instead of becoming honest. That's how we look at things. Now, when you do that and you say to yourself, okay, I am brutally honest, I need help here, that means you're moving towards self-development because you realize you need help. And if you don't and you lie to yourself, that moves you towards self-sabotage because what you're doing is you're lying to yourself. That means you don't need help. That means you don't need to build what you're building because there's no problem here. So there's major problems if you just understand this. So the next level is taking responsibility for what you found and changing it. And once you do that, you stop blaming the world. You stop doing anything. I'm responsible for everything that happens to me. And that's the highest form of maturity. So overall, your job is for your conscious mind to dominate your subconscious mind. And the second you can do that, you've won life.
Do you think that you have to be at a certain level of way of being in order to get there? Because, or can you start, like, even if you were to even bring yourself round to even starting a program, with a coach, what gets you there? What gets you that drive and motivation when it doesn't exist? I'm talking going way back to the real beginning of a human where they are literally, on the ground, feeling like they've been stepped on, or, there's, constant pokes at them, like how we may be feeling now, and there's no hope, in someone. There is, the aspirations gone, the dreams gone, their business is now completely, no hope in hell of it actually coming round again. What would you advise somebody like that? Because I want to bring about, which is what majority of us are actually feeling, unfortunately, right now, not having that power in their mind or body, even if they know themselves, even if they've been successful, and it drops. And I know the answer myself because, but I'm just trying to talk to you again about how, most people might be feeling at that really, really detrimental point in their lives. Just to raise some more hope and to give that hope when there's not even a tiny amount that exists, at this moment in time.
Sure. I think, again, this question is very powerful because at the end of the day, when you can go through tragedy, overcome it, and become a better human being, that's the ultimate kind of result that you want. So this is an opportunity to become something better. And I would tell you is just know where your attentional focus is at. That's where I would tell you, like, what is your mind pointing at? Is it something negative? Is it something fearful? Or is it something positive and it's something hopeful? Only you can regulate that. That's your remote control. Okay, you point the direction of your mind. It's up to you. So whatever your attentional focus is, pay attention to it. Become aware of where it goes. Don't let it travel on its own because it's going to harm you. If it's going where it wants to go, then any road can take you there. And you might end up in a place where you don't have charge of your consequences. you're going to listen. Life is going to offer you pain, whether you like it or not. But it's nice to choose the pain because it can be a little bit less. And then you can deal with it and you maybe get some morphine shot along the way so you don't have to even deal with it at all. So life is just consequence, consequence, consequence. Learn that, know that then any decision you make, you're just picking the next problem. That's all it is. And fall in love with that. I think you have to shift your emotional structure there first. And the second you do that, I think it would change you as a human being. But let's say right now, you're down and out, you're not motivated, your business is going under, you lost your job. You've done, there's like multiple things that are happening to you. It's not just one thing. It's like you're just being bombarded by just hell. And I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I don't know how to recover. My mind is hazy. My emotions are debilitated. And I have nowhere to go. That is a person who's hit rock bottom.
Exactly.
Okay. So when you hit rock bottom, the best thing, and this is one of my favorite sayings, is the only way is up. Okay? But I have to be able to get myself just to stand up. You know what I mean? It's great you tell me that, but I can't even stand up. So I think when we come to these points in life, I think these are the most special points in terms of the opportunities that they give us, because it really builds a spiritual level within a human being. This is the point where you realize you really don't have much control, and everything is being stripped away from you. Where there's nothing left, there's no doors that are open except for what? One. And that door is usually we start looking up. And we start seeing what we normally don't see. And I think at that level, that realization, if you have a strong spiritual sense, tragedy opens up reflection. And it allows the mind to open up at a completely different level of who you are, where you're going, where did you come from? You start answering these kinds of questions in your mind because it presents them to you. So when the only door that is open is spirituality, draw on that for hope. Yeah. That's your gate, really. And if you can do that and create that connection, you believe in God or you don't believe in God, you believe in goodness, you don't believe in goodness. Most of us have a system that we follow. And these are just general laws. But at that moment, I don't care who you are. When you're down and out and you have all the doors have closed, there's a sensation to call out for help. And when you call out for help, there's a deep, deep, deep voice inside of you. Give it a microphone. Let it speak. Be calm, be collected. Because when you open up that door, you go into the eye of the hurricane. It's calmness in a state of chaos. Find that door in your own mind. It may be vast travel for you to find it. It may be a short distance. Find it. And once you do that, it's amazing when you open it and you walk through it.
That is really powerful. And I think that's what I really wanted to hear eventually. And I kind of like kept probing and probing to get to that. And I know you have a system of getting to that level of explanation, especially if we look at history or even just generally the real success of people today. And they do come from tragedy. They do come from real challenges that have actually overturned their lives and, you know, taken them out of it to such an other extreme. And that's what we need to remember, that even if you come and fall into those really dark, you know, spots and holes, there is always that light at the end of the tunnel if you focus and look and see. And there is definitely hope. And just before we end, just quickly a little bit about some sort of like decision making that would get us to jumpstart us in those sort of crucial moments and times that would actually, we just sometimes need a spark to light up, obviously, that fire that we need within us, even in these dark times. And that's exactly what we all are looking for right now. So, you know, show me something that, or tell me something that the audience can maybe just take away right here, right now.
And again, thank you for having me on. And I really appreciate
my pleasure.
the stage. So as in final words, what I would tell you is understand for you as a person that whatever has become you is because of a collection of your own decisions that you've made that's become a collective, and it's now you as a person that's given birth to that. We all live within an avatar, and this avatar is your body, and that avatar is going to decay and it's slowly going to move away, but that internal being is always a spark of light. It's always there. Keep that refined properly. Keep it injected with the right things and build your character in that. Don't worry about the avatar, which some of us are so worried about plastic surgery. We're worried about how shiny the rims are, how big our house is. That's the avatar. Work on the inside factor where you really need the plastic surgery. It's the inside, not the outside. And I think if you just take that journey inward, I think there's amazing things that you will find, because you'll realize that you are your own universe. Fall in love with yourself. Fall in love with your own self-discovery. Fall in love with who you are as a being. You're a creation. Who created me? How did I come here? Fall in love with these kinds of questions. I think when you do that, it opens up a whole nother world that unfortunately, not many people see these days. And I think we need to go back to that. Go back to that reality and see how you can overcome anything. And I guarantee you, as a coach, and I make a lot of tough decisions, sometimes multi-million-dollar decisions. Sometimes babies are going to get born or they're not going to get born because of the decision you're making. So you walk on razor blades while what? Carrying enormous amounts of responsibility. Those are decisions that are waiting for you down the line that you can make as well. So in final, I'll tell you this. Once you start off in life, your responsibility road is vast. You have a lot of room to make mistakes. As you get bigger, more stronger, more able, that road of responsibility shrinks. And it keeps getting tighter and tighter and tighter, to such a point in life that only certain people are offered certain opportunities of calamity. Opportunities of calamity, which hold enormous amounts of responsibility. There is no second chance when you make the decision, and you have no time to think, so you have to be trained at that last second. And it's like taking the last shot at a game. They give it to their best player because that person can handle that kind of responsibility. There is no second chances, and guess what? There's no time to think because there's no time. Time factor is so small. Those are the situations you want to end up with at the end. You want that kind of responsibility. And when you can do that, the responsibility and the challenge will pull out your leadership, and it will pull you out, and it will show your true character. If you have developed yourself properly, that's how the outside is a testing ground for the inside. It's when that challenge comes and it calls you out, but it's the challenge no one wants to take on. And you step forward and you're like, you're mine.
That was absolutely powerful, inspiring, motivational. And honestly, the takeaway from this most definitely, especially for me, and I hope that the viewers actually hear this, is that you are your power. You have it within you. You just have to search, and you just have to make those few adjustments and tweaks, but it's actually all around you. And I think we actually sometimes misconstrue the external, thinking that that's what gives us, our motivational sort of drive and, abilities, but actually, no, it does come from within. And I think for me, that is the best takeaway, the most positive thing, knowing that regardless of what you're facing, who you are, where you come from, any walk of life that you have been through, it all starts from within you. And I'm going to have your details in the description box. If anyone wants to reach Wissam, please do so. He is so inspirational. He's got so much experience that, you know, I personally find very, very motivational and inspiring. Even, you know, just myself, you know, listening to you, it's just opened up a different way of explaining how life is, which I think anyone can take away from it, whatever age and stage or phase in life. And even through these tragic times, I think it would give you that spark that you really need. And that's what I wanted to, you know, come out and get from you. And you certainly gave it, most definitely. Thank you so much. Joining me from across the world, all the way in Michigan. I'm so honored and blessed to have someone like yourself with your credentials and background to actually be on my channel and support. And I hope that more people do reach out to someone like you. Please follow him on his talks, his Instagram. Again, I will have all your details. Thank you so much, Wissam, for your time. I literally could sit here for another hour or more talking to you. But unfortunately, we have come to the end of the show. Thank you for your time and for all your wise words. And I hope to have you on again. Thank you, viewers, for watching. It has been an absolute pleasure to serve you in this way, and especially with the wonderful guests that have come abroad, come from way far to actually give their time to speak to everybody. And I'm 100% sure that, you know, you are going to be feeling, you know, totally different after listening to this discussion. If you have any comments, please do share them, like, subscribe, and share. And hopefully we will see you on the next episode of Coach Talk. Thank you, Wissam. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.
Thank you.